So my name is Wyatt Johnson. I live in Fargo, North Dakota, and I used to be a participant in F5. So I grew up in Oaks, North Dakota, as well as Lisbon, North Dakota. And they're two tiny little towns. When I was growing up, that's really big, farm country. So there's a lot of people that have it really well off there. And my family was not one of them. My mom was a part-time bartender, and my stepdad worked on a ranch sometimes. For the most part, he just used a lot of drugs. Growing up really wasn't the greatest. I had siblings, 2 sisters and a brother, and they both went to live with their parents. And so I kind of stuck behind, and I was exposed to a lot of, mental abuse, physical abuse. I didn't really see drug addiction firsthand, but I had an idea that it was going on, when I was at the age of 13, 14, my stepdad at the time just told me, he's like, you're going to find out at some point in time. And then he passed me weed, and he's like, this is what I do. And he showed me some meth, and he's like, but you're not going to be able to do this yet. And so it was kind of like a game almost, and that's really how I got exposed to drugs. And that turned into physical abuse towards it. Was how many beatings I was going to get was decreased by the amount of drugs that I would sell for my family. So I really wasn't loved from a young age, and that's what I sought for, was love and acceptance. I didn't figure that out until I was 28. So yeah, it was one of them things where the state of my safety depended on whether my parents were high or not. That's really when I started running drugs back and forth between town for my stepdad at the time, and that branched into them moving a couple of states away. And that was when I was 16 years old. So for the last 2 years, from 16 to 18, I lived in my truck. Probably the worst time for me. I was abandoned at the time. I didn't really have anywhere to go. My dad wasn't in the picture at the time. When I was kicked out, I remember my wrestling coach, would let me shower at his school, and he would come in early just to let me go in there and take a shower. I didn't even know what recovery was. I never really heard people talk about it. I grew up in a small town, right? So there wasn't really anything as far as recovery goes, right? You were shunned upon if you were to use anything besides alcohol. But so then it was when I was sober, when I wasn't doing drugs, I was just drinking, So and that was another just a little form of acceptance. Recovery didn't really come until I moved to Fargo. My grandmother was taking me in at the time, and I would just started to go in and out of jail. And so I was just using her for a place until I could get back on my feet, which was just in the drug aspect of things. And then I would leave again, and it would just be that vicious cycle. My first year of recovery, I was in prison. Well, I was federally indicted in 2020, October 22nd. It was tough. So I was in a jail cell. My whole thing is they wanted me to cooperate with the government, and I wouldn't do it. So they would give me diesel therapy. So I was in Cass County, and then I went over to Minnesota, and then I went down to South Dakota, and I got stuck in South Dakota for 11 months. The jail cells were filled it was mice. They said that there were showers in the cell, but it was ice cold showers. So for 9 months, dude, I was taking nothing but cold showers and stuff like that. So really all I did was work out. But yeah, it was tough. I mean, I didn't really have an option, you know what I'm saying, not to be sober, but I knew that if there was the opportunity that I would have took it, because I didn't even know who I was, I'm still trying to figure that out, I've made leaps and bounds in that recovery field, because I said, yesterday was 2 days ago was my 4-year clean date. But at the time, I didn't know what I needed other than somebody to not co-sign my BS, because I was coming up with every excuse in the book, I had a case over my head. I didn't know anything different other than using, and being who I was in that using aspect, and I was trying to justify that by all means. Not that I wanted the drug, it's that I needed the drug. In care coordination, they don't co-sign your BS. Ricky was really the guy who kind of got me to see the whole bigger picture. I think it was really just a big support thing that I didn't even know that I needed at the time. I've been sober for 4 years and 2 days. Or clean for 4 years and 2 days. And the biggest thing that I tell to people who are still struggling is that there's a way better life than what you're doing right now. I never would have thought that I'd have been, clean for as long as I have been, because it's never happened before, But each day, dude, is a challenge, but I would rather take that over what I was doing before, even if it's the worst day I could have possibly had.